5-year contract for Todd Monken.
5 years, Jeff.
Who turns 60 next week, which is fine. That's great. Jim
Can
Schwartz,
we stop with the age stuff? I hate it.
It's in the. Let's be realistic, Andy. This is the age of the young hot coordinator, and the Browns didn't go that route.
Yeah, but that's not the way fans look at it. Fans are just like, oh, over what? What do you think? What's old now for our listeners?
Anything that begins with a 5.
I think anything that begins with a 4 sometimes is old.
Regardless, Todd Monken's the new head coach of the Browns.
Yeah.
And
I mean, think about it. How long did the cavemen live? 18, 19? I mean, middle age was like 6 or 7.
They had to go up and, dig up food every day.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's hard trying to invent fire.
Okay. We good now?
I mean, I don't know if they invented fire. I think they discovered fire.
Yeah.
No, I think they invented it.
When the lightning struck and it burned down their cave.
I saw it on the internet.
It's more of a discovery than an invention.
I saw it on the internet. They invented it. They didn't discover it. And if it was on the internet, it's got to be true.
I think the cavemen invented the internet.
It was no, it was on Instagram. It was just better
Gore?
than regular internet. It was Instagram.
Anyhow, Monken turned 60. Jim Schwartz about to be 60. They're the same age.
Oh,
basically.
so old. So old.
And no, that's not, Andy. That's not.
It's
I'm
not
just throwing,
old,
I'm just
Jeff.
Of course not. I'm just throwing it out there. Dude could coach another 15 years if he wants. Good for him.
Yes.
But the question I had yesterday, I spent some time trying to answer, and that was why Todd Monken over Jim Schwartz. And I came up with a couple of things. I don't know.
Is this a list?
No. I don't. Would you come back?
I'm telling you, it's a list, dude.
You hang out, you're sitting baseline.
See, here it is
you're
again.
Getting your face all over ESPN. Your hair's looking great.
I don't care about
your hair
ESPN.
Look good. Your hair look really good.
I care about the News Herald. That's
good
all
product.
I care about.
You had
yes.
good product.
Yes. Shout out News Herald.
Anywho, you hire Monken. You don't hire Schwartz. Schwartz, according to reports, is steamed and isn't coming back.
Would you be?
Yeah, I mentioned that yesterday. I wouldn't come back if I was Jim. And if he does, okay, well, good. I would think that he goes and looks for another opportunity and might have to calm down before he would even think about coming back to the Browns.
I wouldn't. But the difference, I think, here is, Jeff, he would have been better served not saying a word and just waiting to see when the phone calls come in and then just going back and saying, let me out of my contract.
And staying home.
Oh, I don't know. If he could go to San Francisco, I'd go to San Francisco if I were him.
No, I meant not going into the offices in Berea.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just stay home. It's a snow day. I'm out. See ya.
Don't feel good.
Hey, I've got Mike McDaniel's number. Let me call him. He can start working on my presentation.
Yeah, see?
If I'm the Browns, why would I hire Monken over Schwartz? Andy, it's a phone call for you.
Is that your agent?
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't have an agent.
They're jealous.
And I thought of this. If you're Andrew Berry, if you're Jimmy Haslam, but especially if you're Andrew Berry, your offense on this football team was just god-awful.
Yep.
You said you're going to invest significant assets into your offense. You already said that. Andrew Berry said that before they ever hired a coach. And I'm in trying to interpret what they did. Maybe he thought, Andrew Berry, and then convincing Jimmy Haslam or whatever, that our offense is this bad. We better hire someone who can come in and put in his offense, coach an offense, and then keep an offense, going back to what Dan has said all along. You don't want somebody stealing your offense. If you're going to invest all of these assets into the offense, then you better go get an offensive coach who can mold it all together, and not just a coordinator who might be doing it for the first time. Not a coordinator who has kicked around the league, although that's what Monken's done, but somebody who can just take what it is you're going to put into this, your major investment of this offseason, and try to make it work. And if that costs you a defensive coordinator, fine, you can go hire another one. Todd Monken knows guys who can coordinate a defense. I'm sure Andrew Berry does too. I don't mean to belittle what Jim Schwartz did. I think he did a fine job here. But the offense is clearly the focus. It's clearly the work in progress. It's clearly the bad part of this football team. And part of investing significant assets into the offense is hiring a head coach for the offense. I'm not trying to explain. I'm trying to maybe understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's another thing that I hadn't really thought about, and I just happened to glance over at our YouTube channel, and JPP on YouTube said,
"Does your hair look good on that too?"
No, I kind of have the Bill Belichick thing going with the hoodie on today.
Yeah.
He said, "I think the question is why would you hire Schwartz over Monken?" Can you look at it that way too?
Yeah. Why you would have hired Schwartz over Monken is this: you already had the respect of well over half of your football team. Well over half. Because you can be sure some guys on the offensive side of the ball feel the same way about Jim Schwartz as some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball. And it's that reason. You don't have to win anybody over. Monken's going to have to win over guys on defense. You know, the Chargers yesterday hired a defensive coordinator. And we've talked about coordinator du jour. And think of who the Browns were talking to. A 30-year-old offensive coordinator from Jacksonville, a 35-year-old pass game coordinator. They weren't talking to too many of the young, hotshot defensive guys. Jesse Minter in his early 40s. Yes. But the Chargers just hired to replace Minter a guy who was their safeties coach 2 years ago. I think his name's Chris O'Leary. He's 34. And last year was the defensive coordinator of your Western Michigan Broncos in the MAC. So they hired a MAC defensive coordinator to come in. Now, he had Chargers experience. He was their safeties coach. But Jim Harbaugh goes, hot young coordinator on the defensive side. Let's bring this guy in. We like him. And Jim's dad, Jack, by the way, used to coach at Western Michigan.
What a small world.
Yeah, there it is.
It's all about the Mid-American Conference, isn't it?
Why Todd Monken?
It's either that or John Carroll and Mount Union.
Oh, yeah, over Jim Schwartz. Why Todd Monken over Schwartz? Does what I laid out make some sense? I'm trying to understand it. I think that might be the reason why. You're going to invest so much in this offense that you just felt you had to hire a coach for it too, and not have a guy who might bail out.
This is
after a year or two.
All about having an effective offense, and from what we were hearing yesterday, maybe he had a game plan for Shedeur. Maybe he's got a game plan for Deshaun. Maybe he laid that out and was the difference in him getting the job and not getting the job. I think that they were 100% looking for offense. They found offense. I think if whoever they brought in that was going to try to change the offense had the option to want to try to keep Jim Schwartz, Schwartz wanted nothing to do with that. So I think that's one part of it. I'm also convinced that Monken's going to say he had game plans for every one of those quarterbacks in the quarterback room, like how we could develop them. Because I would have been looking for that if I was Jimmy Haslam. If I was Andrew Berry, I would want an offensive coordinator that would have come up with a game plan for my current quarterbacks.
If I'm Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry, I would want to hear that, but I would also really want to hear, what do you think of those guys? Do we need somebody else? Just for the sake of fun, Monken's quarterbacks that he's worked with in the NFL. Jameis Winston for 3 years, and this is as an OC. Jameis for 3 years in Tampa when he worked for Dirk Cutter. Baker for 1 year here when he worked for Freddie Kitchens. And then Lamar Jackson, 3 years with Baltimore. So certainly three guys who know how to play quarterback in the NFL. He hasn't had to take what we have here and try to make it work. Doesn't mean he can't. I just think big picture, they think the offense is in such a mess that if they're going to throw all of these personnel assets at it, you better have a guy who's into it for the long term. And say an offensive coordinator, if Jim Schwartz got the job and he hires an offensive coordinator, and then they actually turn it around, well, then that guy leaves. It goes back to the Mennigan theory. And, Dan, I think you're right on this.
Whippersnapper, one word, by the way.
One word. Wow.
As I said.
Nice. I like that.
Dr. Redpen has been corrected.
Well, I wasn't sure. All I know is I love it. And I think Dan's right. Dan mentioned it some time ago. You don't want somebody stealing your offense, especially if you're going to put those kind of assets into it. And maybe they can go ahead and if Jim doesn't want to stick around as defensive coordinator, and if I'm him, I wouldn't. Ephraim Banda, the safeties coach, received some head coaching interviews during this cycle. Maybe he becomes your new defensive coordinator. Maybe you promote from within. Maybe Anthony Weaver, who worked with Monken in the past in Baltimore for a year. Maybe Anthony Weaver's the guy. Was just the DC in Miami, and he was with the Browns as defensive line coach. Maybe you find somebody because you have assets on the defensive side. And not to say Jim didn't do a great job. I think he did. But I'm sure their thinking probably is, we've got real good assets there. We can get somebody to come in and do a good job.